Tsai Ing-wen's academic dishonesty has now ballooned into a scandal that rivals Watergate. It has now become an international crisis. Taiwan's security agencies forge evidence, manipulate the courts, and coerce public servants into doing Tsai's bidding. In the process, they drag Taiwan's so-called democracy into a shadowy era of darkness. Even worse is the London School of Economics and the University of London's involvement, proud English education institutions bought off by Tsai. Upon learning of their assistance, ThesisGate investigators made it a point to have the University of London release everything it had on Tsai Ing-wen's degree. Only by doing so can Taiwan's dignity and integrity be returned to it. Over the past 2 years, investigators in Taiwan have accrued evidence proving that Tsai Ing-wen does not have a diploma, a thesis, or proper associate professor credentials. They published their findings during a devastating press conference. Investigators in London, however, have been trying to get around personal protection rules to unveil Tsai Ing-wen's malfeasance. Their battle saw new developments in November 2021. American independent reporter Michael Richardson has followed ThesisGate for some time now. He appealed a decision from the UK's Tribunal Court which agreed with the ICO that the University of London did not have to publish Tsai's Viva information. In his appeal, Richardson says that it's acceptable that the University of London cannot divulge Tsai Ing-wen's examiners and Viva date if there are privacy concerns. However, why is it then that LSE Information and Records Manager Rachel McGuire could provide a Viva date of October 16, 1983, during a separate Freedom of Information Act inquiry? Why is it that Kevin Haynes could share the names of Tsai Ing-wen's 2 supposed examiners? Richardson points out the contradictory nature of such actions. Therefore, Michael Richardson appealed the Tribunal Court's decision based on the reasoning that LSE could release the very same information. On November 26, 2021, the UK's upper tribunal confirmed it received Richardson's appeal and said it would acquire requisite information from the lower tribunal. At the same time, the upper tribunal handed Richardson an ICO ruling which denied Richardson's request to obtain information from LSE. The ruling said, "The Council of the London School of Economics and Political Science denied holding the requested information." This ICO ruling flies in the face of a key reasoning the presidential office has relied on for the past 2 years. The presidential office asserted that LSE is the only institution that could attest to Tsai Ing-wen's credentials. This also proves one of our main deductions, that the 278 pages of student records Prosecutor Huang Wei supposedly received from LSE legal representative Kevin Haynes is very crucial evidence. Those documents have not been seen elsewhere, but they contain Tsai's supposed education records as well as 2 examiner names. However, the developments that have come into light prove that Tsai is mobilizing national security agencies to forge evidence and distort the truth. They did so with the aim of making Dr. Peng a wanted man. This is the 4th time LSE has admitted to not having information on Tsai Ing-wen's Viva. In 2019, Dr. Xu Yongtai asked LSE Law for the records on Tsai. The school flat out said that it holds no records relating to President Tsai's PhD. In 2020, Huang Wei got his hands on correspondence between LSE and Taiwan's UK representative office. At first, Kevin Haines, unable to provide Huang Wei with what he needed to prosecute, told Taiwan's authorities that they should speak directly to the University of London. However, afterwards, at the behest of a Taiwanese representative office worker, Kevin Haines was urged to get in touch with Sue Donnelly at LSE's Institutional Archive. Shortly after, Haines replied that he obtained copies of Tsai's 1984 diploma, among other records. He also managed to uncover 2 examiner names. Interestingly, the employee at the representative office used to be Zhu Junzang's superior. This international effort to unveil evidence is very problematic. First, Tsai Ing-wen was only a student. What would her records be doing in LSE's institutional archive when even her own law school didn't have that information? Do other students have their information stored at the institutional archive? Also, how did the representative office even know to reach out to the school's institutional archive? Second, even the LSE Council said it did not have information on Tsai Ing-wen's Viva. How did Kevin Haines manage to fish out the identity of Tsai's examiners in the archive? Where was that information sourced from? Third, Taiwan's representative office, in its correspondence with LSE, only requested verification for Tsai's 1984 and 2015 diplomas. What about the 2010 diploma? Did Kevin Haines find records of that one? Fourth, the presidential office published Tsai's student records on September 4th. However, the application request for the information was put in on September 3rd. That means the presidential office successfully applied for, obtained, and deciphered the information within 24 hours. They also decided to litigate in that time frame as well. With such speed, it's no wonder that they didn't even realize the Viva notification memo was missing a signature. These unbelievable details show how national security agencies work in the shadows. Tsai's conspirators plan to send all of the information they have manufactured to LSE and make it seem like LSE is the one releasing such information. It's just like when Tsai had Si Fanglong operating from within the school in 2019. Now, Kevin Haines is the key player in this scheme. The latest realization that LSE does not have records on Tsai's PhD or Viva comes from the LSE Council, a very high-ranking school organization. When this news broke, Tsai's team did not know how to react. Dr. Pang's show on November 28th, which uncovered the shocking news, shot all the way up to #1 on the YouTube trending list. Social media forums were set ablaze with this latest information. The presidential office remained silent for 3 days. Then it launched a new cognitive warfare campaign. Tsai Ing-wen's lawyer Lian Yuanlong released a 4-part statement which included severe and heavy language. At the same time, many groups started popping up on Facebook which vehemently defended Tsai and boiled down the ICO's ruling to misinterpreted information. These are textbook cyber army mobilization tactics. There is no room for uncertainty or ambiguity in ThesisGate. We must clarify, dismiss, and rebut every argument made against us. That is why we will carefully deconstruct Lian Yuanlong's 4-part statement. The first part claims that the UK's ICO already dismissed investigators' request for information from the University of London regarding Tsai's PhD. Our viewers will remember that UK Information Commissioner Elizabeth Denham has been very dismissive of ThesisGate since the beginning. She even openly mocked investigators' efforts. The ICO had already made an initial ruling on March 23, 2020, in which it said that revealing such information would result in damage or distress for Tsai. After that, they asked Michael Richardson to no longer pursue the matter. The June 11th ruling that Lin Yunlong's statement refers to says that Tsai's thesis may have been lost or misplaced sometime between 1980 and 2010. It also said that the 2019 black leather thesis may or may not have been a draft of Tsai's final thesis. The ruling went on to say that the thesis was not relevant to Tsai's position, which was the basis upon which investigators levied their skepticism. That June 11th statement clearly did not make any sense. As a result, Michael Richardson decided to take the tribunal to administrative court over its nonsense ruling. It took the presidential office 3 days to decide it wanted to cite that ruling out of context. Such poor judgment reminded investigators that they needed to stay on their feet in the face of authoritarianism. Lin Yunlong's statement's second part says that according to the ICO ruling, the University of London has comprehensive records of Tsai's viva. The ruling also claimed that the university told the ICO that it had extensive records of her viva and could confirm that Tsai was given a degree properly. The school supposedly has all of this information on hand. Lin's statement seemingly tries to convince people that the ICO has confirmed Tsai's degree. However, the matter the ICO is supposed to tackle is who were Tsai Ing-wen's examiners. The ICO has no business weighing in on the legitimacy of Tsai's degree. In the ICO's reason for decision, the ICO says that the University of London told the commissioner that it had records of Tsai's studies. However, Michael Richardson wants to know what the University of London told the ICO and where it got that information. Otherwise, everything verifying Tsai's degree on the ICO's part and subsequently the University of London's part is based on speculation and hearsay. The ICO's ruling is based on nothing more than what the University of London said and the ICO taking the school at its word. Conversely, if the University of London has such extensive records, then it could thoroughly absolve Tsai Ing-wen from all of this controversy. But the best it can offer is an entry from a 1985 database kept at the Institute of Advanced Legal Studies. We've debunked that line of reasoning countless times because Tsai's organization has frequently brought it up. Isn't this just a cycle of conspirators covering for each other? The ICO has said that it has taken the University of London at its word that the school has records that can verify Tsai's education. In reality, though, the closest the University of London has ever come to revealing any relevant record was when the school's Data Protection and Information Compliance Manager, Kit Good, told Michael Richardson to refer to LSE's October 8, 2019 statement on Tsai's degree. Since the beginning, Tsai Ing-wen's team has been shelling out its own cooked-up evidence. It's been nothing but a game of forgeries funneled through LSE to lend such fabrications a sense of legitimacy. Lien completely skips over the fact that LSE says it does not have information on Tsai Ing-wen's PhD. Instead, he focuses on the idea that the University of London is the school that should have such information, not LSE. Lien Yuanlong's statement's third part says that when LSE separated from the University of London, student information had to be reallocated. Each school and college had different rules for deciding which institutions kept what information. It's clear that Tsai Ing-wen's information was sent to the University of London, which explains why LSE says it does not have records and why the UOL tells the ICO it does. We've already figured out that both schools should have Tsai's records. That is, the University of London would have information on Tsai's viva and degree, and LSE would have records on Tsai's curriculum and study. Tsai's student record belongs to LSE. The problem is, the presidential office insists that LSE is the only authority that can speak to Tsai's degree. It also claims that the documents it receives is from LSE. Who is the one using presidential privileges to disseminate false information and besmirch righteous scholars? It wasn't until after the LSE Council said that the school didn't have Tsai's viva or examiner's records that Lien Yuanlong decided the University of London is the primary authority and record keeper. The offending organization is willing to lie and bend the truth to no end. What would happen if this ruling never came out? Would Taiwan's courts have simply accepted Kevin Haynes' submitted evidence to make a ruling against Dr. Pang? Lien Yuanlong's statement's fourth part says that in addition to the University of London's verification of Tsai's degree, LSE has already said Tsai Ing-wen is an honored alumna of the school. It has gone so far as to dismiss untruthful claims that Tsai's degree is illegitimate. The school has specifically admonished people who spread misinformation and misguide the public. Whenever the offending organization has to fall back on LSE's October 8, 2019 statement, we can be certain that this is a matter of academic fraud through and through. Perhaps newer viewers will not understand why. First, the October 8th statement has many problems with it. It's written by the wrong department and published in an obscure part of the school's website. It's hidden away and buried as if the school doesn't want the public to find it. The statement also improperly referred to IALS as Institute for Advanced Legal Studies and not Institute of Advanced Legal Studies. The only person known to make such a mistake is Tsai's confidant, Shi Fanglong. Second, the content of the statement is erroneous on many accounts. On the same day the statement was published, Dr. Huan Lin sent emails to the Senate House and IALS libraries asking if they received Tsai's thesis like the statement claimed they did. The Senate House Library said that it received a copy in 2011 but sent it to IALS. IALS said no copy of Tsai's thesis had been taken in. It was interesting how the LSE statement emphasized that a library took in a thesis. The statement also further mentions IALS's 1985 database and a digital version of Tsai's thesis, which is very unconventional. Lin Renlong's four-part statement merely perpetuates the cognitive warfare campaign Tsai's team launched in 2019. He doesn't want to shed light on anything. He's just looking to rally support and continue this vicious cycle. LSE should have kept records of Tsai's studies, but not the ones that the offending organization disseminates.
有一天，学校我的毛病又来了，学校突然打电话给我说：“哎 ，Miss 蔡，你到这个 office 来一下。”我就去一下。他说：“你的 supervisor 告你的状，说你人都不见了哈，也不知道在写什么，他对你很不满意哦。”那我说我已经都写好了，你要不要看一看呢？我就把它拿给学校看。那这个我们这个学校的系主任呢，看完以后就讲 Bloody hell。
Every PhD candidate works extensively with their supervisor to perfect their thesis. Everything from topic to research methods are discussed in depth. During every meeting, meticulous minutes are taken and recorded for future reference. Such notes are used to evaluate whether or not a student is ready for a viva. Not every PhD candidate can make it to a viva, so meeting minutes are kept as a sort of record of study for both students and supervisors. At the same time, if a candidate opts to take a viva, LSE will also request they fill out an entry form. The form needs to be signed and approved by the student's supervisor. Once approved, the school will begin looking for external examiners, and once found, a time will be set for the viva. This process may take up to a year and can begin at a time when a candidate's thesis is not finished. However, such an important instance in a student's academic history should be recorded on their student record. Tsai's student record does have a date of entry category just for this purpose. However, the presidential office insists that the date of entry indicated when Tsai submitted her thesis. The results section on her record indicated when she got her degree. That's how the story of Tsai writing her thesis in 5 months came to be. Furthermore, Tsai Ing-wen had already returned to Taiwan to teach on the dates indicated on her student record. How did she submit a thesis to the UK from Taiwan? Upon closer inspection, we see 4 identical fields on this student record to fill in. If the presidential office is to be believed, then this form suggests it's possible that someone could submit 2 theses or get a second degree. The design just simply doesn't make sense. In reality, the date of entry actually refers to when a student submitted an entry form to LSE. The other space was to write down whether the form had been approved. It was more likely that students would try multiple times to get approved for a viva, as it was possible that they would get rejected the first time around. Most importantly, the viva result and degree awarded should not appear on a student record, because we know that anything to do with Tsai's degree conferment or her viva would be kept at the University of London and not LSE. The viva notification memo from February 8, 1984 would also have been the University of London's responsibility. Why is there a section for LSE's student record to show that Tsai completed her viva in February? If Tsai's student record from LSE indicates when Tsai passed her viva, how can there be no record of Tsai's viva at the school? At the same time, if LSE denies having records of Tsai's viva, then how could they be so certain of that event in their October 8, 2019 statement? Just as Dr. Lin says, LSE is trying to help Tsai Ing-wen, but after 2 years of back and forth, their charade is starting to slip. At the same time, Tsai's lies can't hold on for much longer either. After 2 years of hard work, ThesisGate is seeing new developments in London. Information Commissioner Elizabeth Denham ended her 5-year term on November 30th this year. A coming change in ICO leadership may bring unexpected changes to ThesisGate. Now faced with an appeal, LSE may push responsibility to the University of London. While Tsai's line holds in Taiwan, the changes in the UK are a warning to her people. You can't hold out forever. Prior to this, we questioned whether or not the University of London had been completely bought out. No matter the case, both LSE and the University of London are in some way involved in Tsai's academic dishonesty. Lies are finally getting too convoluted and too big to contain. Now, all manner of names, dates, and stories are being dropped. LSE somehow has to hand off this problematic matter. The offending organization's next move is to consolidate its loyalty at LSE and focus on the University of London. It may try to come up with another impossible set of examiners. The LSE Council's latest statement indicates that the school wants to be rid of this scandal. Unfortunately, this scandal is past the point of no return. There is only one outcome. At the same time, we know that if there was no legal pressure, LSE and the University of London wouldn't care about academic integrity. The two schools would do anything to help those in power. Thanks to Michael Richardson's hard work, ThesisGate has finally gotten some firm footing. The University of London's claim that Tsai's thesis is lost, the ICO's insistence that the black leather thesis is legitimate, among other claims, are all things we can use in our fight for truth. The final chapters of ThesisGate will unravel in London.